Hi everybody, Mike from Usually Broken Cars here, and in this episode of the Porsche Restoration Project 924 we are going to get it running. It's going to happen. So in this episode we're going to clean the ignition system, we're going to change the spark plugs, and we're going to change the oil and filter, and we are going to turn the key with the intention of starting it for the first time. So let's get into it. So straight into it, 17mm spanner on the sump bung. It's pretty tight, but as I say, it's potentially been in there for 15 plus years. And that little red bung that fell off, that was annoyingly the bleeder for the top hose for the radiator coolant, and I've never found it since.
Good Lord.
I ended up having to put 2 spanners on to get it to undo. Once I undid it, actually, to be fair, it came out fine, and I was pleasantly pleased. The quality of the oil, I know it looks a bit black there, but actually it was pretty clean, and given how long it had been sat in there, the guy who'd owned it before me, and he did say that he kept turning it over every year. He'd go in and turn it over by hand. And I think obviously that helped, but not only that as well, having left a decent quality of oil in there seems to have kept it pretty fresh. And then the oil filter was pretty tight. I had to use a pair of mole gripped oil filter pliers to get it undone. Any kind of canister oil filter I will only ever do up hand tight. I'll never go mad with it. 1050, so I'm going to go with a 2050 down the middle for now anyway. There's a bit of a debate online as to what to run in these. Some people say a 1040, some people say a 1050, some people say a 2050. I went with a 2050 weight just because, to be fair, it was most readily available to me and easiest to get off the shelf, so that's what I put in it for now. So I spent absolutely hours cleaning up all the ignition system. It was really cruddy when I first started taking it apart. There was a lot of build up and a lot of green on all the terminals and connections. But I know it's cheap enough to replace, but it was just easier for me at that point in time to just give it a clean and go from there. So this is the plug that's come out. This is the new plug. They are the same, but I mean, somebody older than me will tell me why I've got to wind this off so that it's the same as that. I don't understand entirely. I'm not really sure what the difference is. But yeah, okay, so I need to take that off, get it the same as them, and put them in. So if you do know about the spark plugs and the tops of them, drop a comment below and let me know, because I genuinely don't know why there's the difference. I would assume it's maybe back for older style spark plugs. Potentially the ignition leads were actually, like, I don't know, wired directly onto the top of the spark plugs. But yeah, drop me a comment below and let me know. And as you can see at the minute, I'm fitting the spark plugs. It was a bit of a pain in the backside to do cylinder number 4, which is the third one from the cam pulley. Once you get it in, it's not too bad, but actually getting the ratchet in there was a bit of a pain.
I am now.
Ready, boys? Yeah. First, try and start off the Porsche. Give it a go, Sam. We're gonna need a battery on it first. Hang on. Yeah, give it a spray, Sam. Hey! Here's your runner. That's amazing. Can you try again? Well, give it another squirt. Try again. So as you can see from my sheer elation and surprise, we were all over the moon. She ran. It was only on ether, but it sparked. It ran. It actually ran. It was amazing and such a good moment. So this was Aaron and myself back on it again. So after the success we had, we thought, right, okay, so maybe the issues are with the fuel pump itself. So we purposefully put a 12 volt up the fuel pump, and we could see it getting fuel to the engine, but it still wouldn't run on its own fuel. And again, you can see it runs on ether just fine, but it wouldn't run off of the fuel from the tank. Anymore. Got some. Perks of having the one that doesn't run, but hopefully we found the fault, and it looks very much like it is the fuel pump that's failed, but potentially also the relay as well. So we need to replace that. I've got one, just a generic one that says it's for this car, apparently. So I've got one off the internet, and it was only 30 quid, so I'm not expecting too much. So although it is an eBay special, it is actually for a 924 and some other bits and pieces. Up in here, you can see fuses, and then back here are the relays. Now the relay itself is actually a bit of a pain in the backside to find one. So it turns out that the fuel pump relays for these are pretty problematic and also very expensive. Even though this one's got a later Volkswagen Audi one in it, that part number is flipping hard to get hold of, and when you can get hold of them, they're like £130. So the fuel pump is actually up behind the driver's side rear wheel. So on a UK car, that's the right hand side wheel. It's held in place with like a little metal bracket tucked up next to the fuel tank. And as you can see from the image, it's got two 10mm holding the live and the negative on there, and then it's got, I think it was a 17mm, and also, yeah, fuel shouldn't be dripping like that. So I'm quite glad I changed the pump, because the quality of the fuel that was left in there is pretty bad, even though the guy drained the tank. And just like everything else on it, it's pretty tight. But as you can see, there was actually fuel getting through that. I'm just glad we didn't actually run the engine on what was in there. Again, they look the same, and they were pretty much the same size. So just to get the pipework all sort of mounted up and fitted in place, we had to jerry rig up the old pipe into the new pipe to try and get some flow through the tank, but we actually made a massive mistake, because we used the old fitting out of the top of the fuel pump. Now anybody that actually owns one will know that fitting is a one-way valve. It didn't last very long. Right, so Aaron is just taking the top of the metering head off. A chat with the guys at Woolly's workshop, they were really helpful, and they said there's a plunger inside that unit that gets stuck and basically stops your fuel from coming through. So hopefully we'll get inside there, there'll be fuel in it, but not past the plunger, and that would hopefully make sense. Where's that little screwdriver? Put on this way, so you know, the angle is right. So essentially what Aaron and I were doing, we removed the top of the metering head to try and get to the plunger. Now this plunger presumably hasn't moved in like 15 years, and it was seized solid. and we ended up actually pulling the metering head off in its entirety, and managed to free it off. We bolted it back down again, we cranked, and as you can tell, nothing happened. It didn't fire up yet again. Crank, 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 and nothing happens. Right guys, so we're back in the workshop. I've had the metering head apart, which was a bit of a faff in itself. You split it down the middle, essentially through here. There's a plunger here, moves up and down. As it moves up and down, essentially, is moved off of this plate here. So there's an arm, pushes up in here. So as the engine draws a vacuum, it will lift up that arm, which will push up that plunger, which will essentially allow the fuel through. So what I've had to do is we've taken it apart, we've cleaned up all the insides. I was kind of expecting something to be seized up inside it, stopping the fuel from coming through at the rate we need, because it's still not running. So at least I know it's clean, serviceable, and we're getting fuel out of it. So I'm just going to bolt it back. Unfortunately, I didn't actually get a video of it, but we ended up taking the metering head off for a second time. This time when we took it off, I bought a rebuild kit, and I completely rebuilt the metering head, and it was myself and Aaron. It took us probably about an hour, and it was a really fiddly job, but we got it rebuilt, and yeah, got it back on, and this is where we're at now. So the old boy in the video, this is actually my dad, and he's here because he's an auto electrician. I should have asked him earlier to jump on and help me, but yeah, so he came in, he had a look at the fuel pump relay, which was actually working, and he also had a look at the fuel pump itself, which was working. All it turned out to be was the fuse was corroded and stopping the electricity getting through to where it needed to be. Might need a bit more power in that battery, in all fairness. Yes. Come on. It's alive! Okay. But it's ready! It's alive! It's alive! Is it pissing fuel out? The hole is right for it. Go. So that was just amazing, like seeing it actually run. Project 924 is alive. It's like, it's alive. And it was just amazing. Having my friends there to help me get it running, all the help from Aaron and Callum, Sam, Mike, all the people that came down and helped me out to get it running the first time, actually on ether, was great. But having my dad there to help me get it running on fuel, it was such a great moment to share with him. So yeah, I'm just over the moon. So now we got to focus on getting the brakes done, and then start looking at the bodywork, trying to fix in all those little things like the fuel level and things like that. So but yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff to help me out, and yeah, stay tuned, more episodes incoming. Oh, and one more thing before I forget. So we got the required amount of likes, so I'm going to fill out this form, which is basically a change of ownership document from the original 924 owner's manual. and I'm going to get this filled out, and then that way hopefully we can send it off to Porsche in Germany, and we'll send that off. Hopefully to get something back, but I think it'll be quite fine if we do. Stay tuned, keep watching. Thanks again.